The bargain made at dusk, the Willowbrook Community Center buzzed with activity as Liam Wright's fingers danced across the piano keys, his music filling the room with a melancholy that belied his easy smile. At 28, with tousled brown hair and eyes that crinkled when he laughed, Liam had become a fixture at local charity events. Not that it paid the mounting medical bills for his father's heart condition, as the final notes faded. A tall woman in an immaculate gray suit approached. Vivian Moreau's reputation preceded her real estate mogul, philanthropist, and notoriously ruthless negotiator. "Mr. Wright," she said, voice smooth as polished marble, "your talent is wasted in places like this. I have a proposition for you." Proposition, as it turned out, was nothing Liam could have imagined. In Vivian's sleek downtown office, beneath the glow of sunset streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, she laid out terms that seemed pulled from another century. "My daughter Thalia needs a husband. You need financial security. I'm offering a solution to both problems." Liam's laugh died when he realized she was serious. "You can't be suggesting an arranged marriage. This is 2025, not 1825. "Call it what you will," Vivian replied, sliding a contract across her desk. 2 years of marriage to my daughter. Your father's medical bills paid in full. A generous monthly stipend. And afterward, enough capital to launch that music studio you've been dreaming about. Liam stared at the paper, thoughts of his father's deteriorating condition weighing heavily. "And your daughter agrees to this arrangement. Thalia understands family obligations. She'll meet you tomorrow evening." That meeting came sooner than expected. As Liam left the building, distracted by the contract in his hand, he collided with someone entering, sending papers flying across the lobby. "I'm so sorry," he said, crouching to help gather the scattered documents. "It's fine," came a soft voice that made him look up. The woman before him had delicate features framed by a cascade of dark curls. Her eyes were an unusual shade, almost violet in the lobby's lighting, and currently wide with surprise. "You're Liam Wright?" she said, recognition dawning. He nodded, confused. "How did you Thalia?" She straightened, clutching the recovered papers to her chest. Thalia Moreau. An awkward silence stretched between them. Liam noticed her hands trembling slightly, the way she bit her lower lip. Nothing about her suggested the cold, calculating daughter of Vivian Moreau he had imagined. "I suppose we're meant to meet tomorrow," he said finally. "Yes." Her voice was quiet but not timid. "Mother works quickly when she wants something." "And what do you want?" The question escaped before he could stop it. Something flickered in those violet eyes' surprise, perhaps that anyone would ask. "That's not really relevant, is it?" 3 days later, Liam signed the contract. 1 week after that, in a private ceremony, with only Vivian and a handful of associates present, he married Thalia Moreau, their new homa. Sleek penthouse provided by Vivian felt more like a hotel than a residence as they awkwardly navigated their first evening as husband and wife. "Room is through there," Thalia said, gesturing to a door off the main living area. "Mine is on the opposite side. The kitchen is fully stocked, and there's a studio space for your music in the back." "Thoughtful," Liam remarked, noting how carefully she maintained distance between them. "Mother thinks of everything." Something in her tone made him wonder what these thoughtful arrangements had cost her over the years. As Thalia turned to leave, Liam called after her, "For what it's worth, I didn't enter into this lightly." "My father—" "You don't need to explain," she interrupted, her expression softening momentarily. "We all have our reasons for agreeing to Mother's plans." When she disappeared into her room, Liam stood alone in the spacious living area, wondering what exactly he had gotten himself into. The woman who was now his wife remained an enigma, reserved, yet somehow not cold, guarded yet with moments of unexpected warmth. As he unpacked his meager belongings, he couldn't help but wonder about the secrets Thalia Moreau kept behind those violet eyes. Whispers behind closed doors 3 weeks into their arrangement. Liam and Thalia had perfected a careful dance of polite coexistence. Mornings featured brief exchanges over coffee before Thalia left for her work at her mother's foundation. Evenings saw them occupying separate spaces, Iman his studio composing, Thalia in the living room with books or her tablet. The penthouse, despite its open design, became a space divided by invisible boundaries. Until the night Liam found her crying. He'd emerged from his studio, past midnight, seeking water when soft sounds from the balcony caught his attention. Thalia stood with her back to him, shoulders shaking slightly in the moonlight, her silk robe rippling in the gentle breeze. Liam hesitated, caught between respecting her privacy and concern. "Thalia?" She straightened immediately, quickly wiping her cheeks before turning. "I thought you were asleep," composing, he explained, stepping onto the balcony but keeping distance between them. "Is everything all right?" "Just a difficult day." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "The Foundation's latest project has complications." Liam leaned against the railing, studying the city lights below. "Want to talk about it?" "I'm told I'm a good listener, occupational requirement for musicians." Something in his casual tone seemed to ease her tension. Thalia joined him at the railing, closer than they'd stood since their wedding day. "It's Mother, actually. She wants me to shut down the community arts program I started last year. Says it's diverting resources from more prestigious initiatives. The program for underprivileged kids." "But that's your passion project." Surprise flickered across her face. "How did you know about that?" "I read about it in the local arts newsletter," Liam admitted. "Before all this, I was impressed by what you were doing." The conversation that followed lasted until dawn. Thalia, speaking about her struggles against her mother's controlling nature. Liam sharing stories of his father's illness and his abandoned dreams of music school. Hours of revelations unfolded under starlight, punctuated by moments of unexpected laughter. "I never imagined you'd be so... Thalia trailed off, watching the sunrise paint the sky. "Charming, witty, devastatingly handsome," Liam suggested with a grin. She laughed, a genuine sound he hadn't heard before. "I was going to say normal. Mother described you as some struggling artist I'd need to reform. I imagined you as an ice princess who'd never set foot outside a boardroom." Their eyes met, both acknowledging the misconceptions they'd carried. Something shifted between them that morning, a wall crumbling, placed by tentative friendship. The following weeks brought more late-night conversations. Liam discovered Thalia's passion for photography and ancient literature. She learned about his childhood in a musical family and his dream of opening a community music school. Their shared spaces became less divided, meals often eaten together rather than in separate rooms. One evening, Liam returned home to find Thalia in his studio, examining the composition he'd been working on. "I hope you don't mind," she said, looking up from the sheets of music. "The melody's been drifting through the apartment for days." I was curious. Instead of the intrusion he might have felt weeks earlier, Liam felt a strange pleasure at her interest. "It's still rough. I can't quite get the bridge right. Play it for me," she asked, her voice soft with something new, an intimacy that hadn't been there before. Liam sat at the piano, aware of Thalia settling beside him on the bench. As he played, her proximity became a tangible thing, the subtle scent of her perfume, the warmth of her shoulder occasionally brushing his. When his fingers faltered at the troublesome bridge, she placed her hand on his arm. "Try it again, but slower," she suggested. "My father was a pianist. He always said difficult passages reveal themselves when you don't rush them." The simple touch lingered even after she withdrew her hand. Liam played as suggested, finding the notes that had eluded him. When he finished, the silence between them hummed with unspoken tension. "I never knew about your father," he said finally. "He died when I was 14. Mother rarely allows me to mention him." Her voice held old pain. "Music reminds me of him." Without thinking, Liam reached for her hand. Her fingers intertwined with his, neither acknowledging the boundary being crossed. For several heartbeats, they remained connected in the quiet studio, the simple touch conveying something words couldn't yet express. That night, when they parted to their separate rooms, Liam found himself pausing at his door, looking across at hers. For the first time, the arrangement felt like a constraint rather than a convenience. The woman who had begun as a stranger, then become a roommate and friend, was gradually becoming something else entirely, something that made the terms of their contract feel increasingly complicated. The Dance of Hidden Desires, the Moreau Foundation Gala, transformed the city's art museum into a glittering showcase of wealth and influence. as Vivian Morrow's son-in-law. Liam found himself navigating conversations with politicians and celebrities with newfound ease. His musician's charm serving him well in these circles that would have been closed to him only months before. Across the room, Dalia commanded attention in a deep purple gown that caught the light like liquid twilight. Her hair was swept up, revealing the elegant curve of her neck. Liam found his eyes drawn to her repeatedly throughout the evening, watching as she skillfully managed her mother's important guests. "Your wife is quite accomplished," remarked an elderly board member, following Liam's gaze. "Vivian has groomed her well, though I always thought Thalia had more of her father's gentle nature. They seem quite different," Liam agreed carefully, "night and day. Marcus was all heart music, and art and impractical dreams. Vivian is all ambition." The man sipped his champagne. A shame what happened to their marriage. Before Liam could probe further, Vivian appeared at his elbow.
Act.
"Liam, darling, come meet the governor." Her smile was perfect, her grip on his arm steel. As she guided him across the room, she murmured, "You're performing admirably. Perhaps this arrangement wasn't such a risk after all." The word performing struck Liam uncomfortably. Was that all this was? Yet when his eyes met Thalia's across the room, the softness in her expression seemed anything but performance. Later, as the orchestra began playing, Vivian insisted they dance. "Show everyone what a devoted couple you are," she instructed, her tone making clear it wasn't a suggestion. Thalia felt different in his arms than she had during their awkward first dance at their small wedding. Then they had been stiff strangers. Now her body relaxed against his, fitting perfectly as he guided them across the floor. "You never mentioned you could dance," she said, looking up at him with a smile that transformed her face. One of many hidden talents. His hand at the small of her back drew her closer than propriety strictly required. "You look beautiful tonight." A flush colored her cheeks. "It's just the dress." "It's not the dress." The words came out lower than he intended, and he felt her breath catch. Their eyes held. The moments stretching between them as they moved to the music. Around them, other couples danced, conversations flowed. Champagne glasses clinked, but for those moments, Liam was aware only of Thalia. The subtle pressure of her hand in his, the way her lips parted slightly. The impossible violet of her eyes beneath the crystal chandeliers. The music ended, breaking the spell. As they separated, Liam's fingers trailed across her bare arm, an innocent touch that somehow felt more intimate than the dance had been. Talia's sharp intake of breath told him she felt it too. The remainder of the evening passed in heightened awareness. Every accidental touch, every shared glance across crowded conversations, carried new meaning. When they finally returned to their penthouse, in the early hours of morning, the air between them seemed charged with unspoken possibilities. "Would you like a nightcap?" Talia asked, slipping off her heels by the door. They sat on the balcony, city lights spread below them like earthbound stars. The conversation flowed easily until Thalia asked about his music. "I heard you playing something new yesterday. It was different from your usual style." Liam swirled his whiskey, watching the amber liquid catch the light. "It's something I started writing recently. About unexpected connections. May I hear it sometime?" "It's about you," he admitted, meeting her eyes. "About us." The confession hung between them, altering the atmosphere. Talia set down her glass, her movements deliberate. "There isn't supposed to be an us, Liam. Not really." "I know." He leaned forward. "Does that bother you?" Instead of answering, she rose and moved to the railing, looking out at the city. Liam followed, standing close enough that she could feel his presence without touching. "When I agreed to this arrangement," she said finally, "I thought it would be simple. A business transaction. I never expected to." When she didn't continue, Liam gently turned her to face him. "To what?" Talia looked up at him, vulnerability plain in her expression. "To want more than what was in the contract." The admission broke something loose in Liam. His hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb tracing the line of her jaw. "I've been thinking about kissing you for weeks," he confessed, voice rough. "Probably shouldn't have said that." "Probably not," she agreed, but her hands came to rest on his chest. fingers curling slightly into the fabric of his shirt. The first touch of their lips was hesitant, testing. The second was not. Talia rose on her toes as Liam's arms encircled her waist, drawing her against him. The kiss deepened, years of loneliness and weeks of growing attraction, culminating in this moment of connection. When they finally separated, both breathing unevenly, Liam rested his forehead against hers. "This complicates things. Everything about you has complicated things from the beginning," she whispered, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "I just didn't expect it to feel so... right?" he suggested. Her smile was answer enough before she drew him down for another kiss. As the night deepened around them, neither spoke of contracts or arrangements or what tomorrow might bring. For now, this newfound intimacy was enough the taste of whiskey on shared breaths. The gentle exploration of touches no longer constrained by pretense, and the unspoken acknowledgement that what had begun as obligation had transformed into something neither had anticipated. Storms of truth morning sunlight streamed through the bedroom curtains, painting golden patterns across Thalia's sleeping form. Liam watched her breathe, still marveling at how quickly everything had changed. 2 weeks had passed since the gala, 2 weeks of redefined boundaries and discovered intimacies. Their separate bedrooms remained, but the doors stayed open now, unspoken invitation hanging in the night air. He traced the curve of her shoulder with gentle fingers, careful not to wake her. Last night she'd fallen asleep mid-conversation, exhausted from another confrontation with Vivian about the arts program. Liam had simply pulled the covers over them both and held her until sleep claimed him too. This newfound happiness felt precarious, built on a foundation that wasn't meant to support such weight. The contract sitting in his desk drawer remained an uncomfortable reminder that their relationship had an expiration date. Delia stirred, her violet eyes blinking open. "What time is it?" "Early. Go back to sleep." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Instead, she nestled closer, her hand finding his beneath the covers. "I don't want to waste our time sleeping." The words hung between them, acknowledgement of their uncertain future. Liam pressed a kiss to her forehead, pushing away thoughts of contracts and endings. "I have that meeting with potential investors for the music school today," he reminded her. Her face brightened. "The community center space would be perfect for it. I could show you after my foundation meeting. Your mother won't approve. I'm starting to care less about that." Delia traced patterns on his chest. "I've spent my whole life trying to please her. Maybe it's time to please myself instead." The newfound defiance suited her, Liam thought. In recent weeks, he'd watched her grow more confident, more willing to challenge Vivian's rigid expectations. He loved seeing this version of Thalia emerge, the woman who'd been hiding behind careful restraint. That afternoon, they met as planned at the old community center. The building needed work, but its bones were good high ceilings, natural light, and surprisingly decent acoustics. The foundation could renovate it as part of the arts initiative, Talia explained, excitement animating her features as she gestured around the space. "Your music school on one side, my visual arts program on the other. Shared performance space in the middle." Liam watched her, struck by how beautiful she was when passion lit her from within. "You've really thought this through." "I've been thinking about it since you first told me about your dream." She approached him, resting her hands on his chest. "Our dreams align perfectly, just like us." He captured her lips in a kiss that quickly deepened, backing her against the wall as her arms wound around his neck. These moments still felt stolen, somehow precious in their newness. "We should get back," Thalia murmured against his mouth. "I need to prepare for tomorrow's board meeting." The board meeting where she planned to officially propose the Community Arts Center over Vivian's objections. Liam knew how much courage that would require. "I'll be right there with you," he promised, though they both knew his presence would likely antagonize Vivian further. When they returned to the penthouse, Vivian herself was waiting, seated regally in their living room. Mother Thalia froze, clearly unprepared for this ambush. "We weren't expecting you, evidently." Vivian's gaze swept over their clasped hands with cold assessment. "I see the arrangement has evolved beyond the parameters we discussed." Liam felt Thalia stiffen beside him. "Would you like some tea, Vivian?" he asked, deliberately casual. "What I'd like," Vivian replied, is to discuss a concerning development. The Foundation's legal team informs me you've been exploring property acquisition for some community project without board approval, not acquisition, yet, just feasibility studies. Talia countered, her voice steadier than Liam had expected. I'm presenting the full proposal tomorrow.
Oh.
Vivian's tone left no room for argument. The Moreau Foundation does not invest in feel-good projects with minimal returns, particularly when they appear motivated by personal entanglements rather than sound business judgment. Liam felt anger rise in his chest. That feel-good project would provide arts education to hundreds of kids who currently have none. Mr. Wright, Vivian's smile was glacial. Your contract grants you financial security and social position. It does not entitle you to opinions on Foundation matters. Mother. Talia's outrage was palpable. You can't speak to him that way. I can, and I will. Vivian stood, smoothing her impeccable suit. Your father had similar and practical ideals about arts and community. Look where that led him bankrupt and abandoned. The statement hung in the air like a thunderclap. Liam felt Thalia go completely still beside him.
What did you say?
Talia's voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. You were too young to understand. Vivian waved a dismissive hand. Your father's community arts center was bleeding us dry. When I tried to stop it, he chose his precious project over our marriage. The bankruptcy was his own doing. You told me he left us, Talia said, each word carefully controlled. You said he couldn't handle the pressure of our lifestyle, kinder version of the truth. He was weak. Just as you're being weak now, letting this ... musician influence your judgment. Liam stepped forward. That's enough. Indeed it is. Vivian collected her handbag. Delia, you have until tomorrow to withdraw this ridiculous proposal. As for your arrangement with Mr. Wright, I suggest you both remember the terms of your contract, particularly the clauses regarding premature termination. After she left, Thalia stood motionless, her face pale with shock and anger. Liam approached cautiously, unsure whether to offer comfort or space. All these years, she finally said, her voice barely audible. She lied about everything. Thalia, my father didn't abandon us. She drove him away because he wanted to do exactly what we're trying to do now. Her eyes met his, filled with a mixture of grief and dawning realization. She arranged our marriage to control you, just like she controlled him. She knew your music school dream would threaten her somehow. Liam pulled her into his arms, feeling her body tremble with suppressed emotion. We don't have to let her control this narrative, he said against her hair. Whatever she's planning, we can face it together. Thalia pulled back, wiping tears with the back of her hand. The premature termination clause? If we break the contract early, you lose everything. The money for your father's treatment, the funding for your school. Some things are worth more than money, Liam said, cupping her face between his hands. What do you want, Talia? Not what your mother wants? Not what I want? What do you want? Her answer was to rise on her toes and kiss him fiercely, pouring 2 decades of controlled emotions into the connection. When they separated, her decision was written clearly in her eyes. I want to find my father, she said, and then I want us to build something that matters together. That night, as storm clouds gathered outside their windows, they made plans by lamplight. Somewhere between strategy and hope, between defiance and dreams. They found themselves tangled in each other again, hands exploring. Bodies moving in rhythm, whispered promises against heated skin. If their lovemaking held an edge of desperation, it also carried newfound determination. Whatever Vivian had planned, they would face it as one. As rain lashed against the windows, Liam held Thalia close, her head tucked beneath his chin, her hearts beating in tandem. Whatever happens tomorrow, he whispered, I need you to know that this Sasit stopped being an arrangement for me a long time ago. Her fingers traced patterns on his skin as she raised her face to his. For me too, she admitted softly. I think I was falling for you before I even knew who you really were. The confession hung in the air between them, neither yet ready to name the emotion that had transformed their carefully structured arrangement into something profound and real. Vows rewritten, the Foundation's boardroom hummed with tension. Talia stood at the head of the table, her presentation materials untouched before her. Liam sat among the board members, aware of Vivian's glacial stare from the opposite end. "Before we begin today's agenda," Thalia said, her voice clear and steady, "I have an announcement. I am resigning from my position as creative director, effective immediately." Murmurs rippled through the room. Vivian's perfectly manicured nails drummed once on the polished table, the only sign of her displeasure. "Furthermore," Thalia continued, "I've decided to establish an independent arts foundation. Several board members have already expressed interest in joining me." She nodded toward 3 senior members who returned subtle nods of support. "This is highly irregular," Vivian interjected, her composure slipping slightly. "Perhaps we should discuss this in private, Thalia." "There's nothing to discuss." Thalia's smile held newfound confidence. "For too long, I've allowed you to control both the foundation and my personal life. That ends today." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "You're making a grave mistake. One that affects not only you, but your ... husband as well." The threat in her tone was unmistakable. "Actually," Liam spoke up, "I've consulted with our attorney. Your contract has several questionable clauses that likely wouldn't hold up in court, especially given the evidence of manipulation and coercion." The evidence: Marcus Moreau's journals detailing Vivian's systematic dismantling of his arts initiatives, along with financial records showing she had deliberately undermined his projects, had been discovered in a storage facility the previous day. Its location revealed in a tearful reunion with Thalia's father in a small coastal town 3 hours away. As Vivian realized the extent of their preparations, her careful facade cracked. "You ungrateful child. Everything I built was built on control and fear," Thalia finished. "I don't need your approval anymore, Mother, and I don't need your money." The meeting dissolved into chaos, after that Vivian storming out. Board members choosing sides, hasty conferences in corners. Through it all, Liam remained by Thalia's side, their hands linked beneath the table in silent support. Later, as they stood in the community center that would soon become their shared dream papers, signed that morning, transferring ownership from the city to their newly established foundation, the weight of their decision finally settled around them. "Are you sure about this?" Liam asked, watching Thalia photograph the space with her ever-present camera. "Your mother won't forgive easily, and I can't offer you the lifestyle you're accustomed to." Thalia lowered her camera, crossing the dusty floor to where he stood. "I spent years living in luxury and feeling empty. These past few months with you in a relationship that started as a business arrangement have given me more joy than 2 decades of wealth ever did." She looped her arms around his neck, her body fitting perfectly against his. "Besides, we're hardly destitute. Dad's investing in the foundation. The board members who joined us brought substantial donations. And your music is finally getting the recognition it deserves." It was true. The composition he'd written about their unexpected connection had caught the attention of a film director, leading to his first major scoring opportunity. "Still," Liam said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, "it won't be easy. The best things rarely are." Thalia's smile held all the warmth that had been hidden when they first met. "But we get to choose this. Us. Our path forward." 6 months later, the Morrowright Arts Center opened its doors. Children from across the city filled the classrooms, Liam teaching music in one wing, while Thalia's photography workshops occupied another. Marcus Moreau, now a regular presence in their lives, led drama programs in the central performance space. On opening night, after the last guests had departed, Liam found Thalia on the rooftop garden they'd added during renovations. She stood silhouetted against the city lights, her purple dress catching the glow of carefully strung lanterns. "Admiring your handiwork?" he asked, joining her at the railing. "Admiring everything." She leaned into his embrace. "Did you notice Mother came to the opening?" "I noticed she left without speaking to anyone." "She'll come around. Or she won't." Thalia's acceptance of this possibility reflected her newfound independence. "Either way, we've built something beautiful here." "Speaking of building things," Liam said, reaching into his pocket, "I have something for you." The small velvet box held a ring far simpler than the elaborate one Vivian had provided for their arranged, ceremony a band of twisted silver holding a single violet stone. "Our contract technically ended last week," he said, suddenly nervous despite everything they'd shared. "I thought we might want to renegotiate the terms." Tears sparkled in Thalia's eyes as she understood his meaning. "What terms did you have in mind?" "Permanent rather than temporary. Based on choice rather than obligation." He took her hand. "Equal partnership in all ventures, personal and professional. No exit clauses." "Sounds binding," she whispered, emotion making her voice unsteady. "That's the idea." Liam brushed his thumb across her cheek. "Thalia Moreau, will you marry me? For real this time. No arrangements, no contracts, just us choosing each other. Every day." Her answer came first in a kiss that spoke volumes. Her body pressed against his beneath the stars that had witnessed their first honest conversation months ago. When they finally separated, breathless and smiling, she took the ring from the box and placed it on her finger. "I choose you," she said simply. "Today and every day." In the distance, the city continued its rhythm lights, blinking, lives unfolding, stories intersecting. But on that rooftop, surrounded by the realization of shared dreams, Thalia and Liam stood in the center of their own creation. What had begun as a cold arrangement orchestrated by ambition had transformed through trust and desire into something neither could have imagined, a love born of choice, strengthened through challenge and now unfettered by anything but their own shared vision of the future. As Liam drew her back into his arms, Thalia's laughter floated into the night air, the sound of someone who had finally found freedom in choosing her own path and the partner with whom to walk it. The journey ahead might not always be easy, but it would be theirs, a story written together. Vows made not from obligation, but from the deepest understanding that some arrangements, when transformed by love, become the most profound commitments of all.